Welcome to the Protector Culture Podcast with Jimmy Graham. Jimmy is a veteran U.S. Navy SEAL, a former protective officer for the CIA Global Response Staff, founder and CEO of the Able Shepherd Program, a husband and father of 4, and a personal friend of mine. Now here's Jimmy.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Protector Culture Podcast with Jimmy Graham. I am your host, Jimmy Graham. I don't know, that's so obvious. I am joining me today is Neil Pinkham, once again, the Sage. What's happening? Able Shepherd number 014. How you doing, brother?
Man, glad to be here.
It's a good night, isn't it?
Good night for this.
And Brian Karch, a.k.a. BK, Able Shepherd 051. What's up, brother?
How you doing? Good to see you guys.
Man, I'm good. It's good to be with you guys. Long day, good meetings, good training, and all that stuff. We had a clearing the building thing. That one always gets everybody excited. It's a good night. It's a late night one. You good, brother? Street lights are on. You good?
This is a surprise. It's dark out there. What the heck?
Pinkham stops taking phone calls about 10 o'clock. I know it's 10:14.
Try 8:45.
And behind the scenes, he doesn't like to be in front of the camera, especially on this one. Pete Dernbach, Able Shepherd 058. What's up, brother?
How you doing?
You got a mic? Okay, good.
I do have a mic.
Good.
Yep,
Okay,
I'm
so
here.
he's live. All right. This one, man, I've been compelled to do this one. I wouldn't say I've been looking forward to it, but I kind of am. This one's we're going to title this one. We're going to call this one SITREP, which means Situational Report, June 2020. There's a lot going on right now. I do, that I've been feeling called to address this. I've been looking for somebody to support, some kind of wisdom coming out of somewhere right now, and I haven't been finding much. I haven't looked a lot. I've been busy. Sure, somebody's putting out some good word. People send me a lot of stuff. I've seen some funny guys. The Hughes brothers, something like that. Does that make sense?
You told me about those guys.
Anyways, yeah. Two black guys, twins. Really funny, just not serious enough to take serious. You know what I mean? So good points. And we see that a lot, when we see like these the guys that are kind of making light, making fun. Nothing wrong with having fun. I just don't know that this is a childish issue. This is an adult issue.
It feels pretty serious right now.
It is. It's very serious. And what I'm talking about, like right now, just to paint the picture where we're at right now, Active Shooter Response Training Center, part of the Centennial Gun Club campus that's right next door. I think that's the first time we've set up right here. Anyways, we mix it up, change it up, and find different places to set up. And I appreciate all the hard work. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, BK, for making all the magic happen. The gun clubs are full. Literally, if you go over there right now, there's boxes of guns everywhere with paperwork on them. They can't even process them fast enough. This is the second big push that I would say, this year due to COVID, due to George Floyd, due to many other things, the Atlanta shooting of Rayshard Brooks. The forests are full. Have you guys been out in the mountains? People everywhere. Like, it's crazy.
Just camping and hanging out.
Hanging out, doing the thing. There's no masks. There's no nothing. Everybody's just outside after being locked up and all that stuff. It's Colorado. People want to get outside in the mountains, and they're absolutely full. We went out 2 weeks ago, I think, with the kiddos, a couple families trying to find some, and like almost didn't find a spot. Drove through, I don't know, like hours looking for a spot, and then a storm rolled in, and luckily we found a spot, got settled, all that stuff. The training classes for the first time have been full. June was full before the month of June, like on the entry-level classes, to get into either the Able Shepherd program or the new program, 4 Links to Your Safety over at Centennial. I believe, is that correct? The first time in history that before the month of June, they were all full for June.
Yeah.
So we added additional classes. We will be up to 120, almost 130 classes in July, if memory serves, either July or August. We just redid the schedule and trying to get people in, because there are, and you've seen this, there are good people that are hungry for knowledge. They're scared, okay? And I don't really blame them. Like, not that I'm scared right now because I know how this story ends, but ultimately, the classes, and I think Pete would probably agree because he's been banging them out left and right, is they're fun. They're good. There's a good feeling about this. I call it instructor crack. Parker pulled me up. We talked late last night. I was over at his house, just catching up. And he said, man, I had an amazing, can I share a story with you? And he was telling me about a guy that was in his class and a conversation that he had afterwards. And, like I said, I call it instructor crack. If you're an instructor that really is for other people, you love these conversations. You love these stories about this guy, black man. He shared all this stuff, and he was like, man, I didn't know. This is exactly what I was hoping I'd find, but I didn't think I would. So now he's all in because he came and got empowered and learned some stuff, and it was responsible, wasn't gung-ho. But these are good folks that the situation outside has their attention, and they trust us. That's a big deal.
Are you seeing people that are maybe first-time gun buyers, or is this I'm coming back to knock the rust off? Or
all of the above, because that's one of my favorite. I'm saying this facetiously. One of my favorite sayings is, "Gotta knock the rust off." I used to do this kind of Navy SEAL thing. I used to do this, and I hand him a gun. I'm like, "You've never done this forever," but that's okay. We're here to help. But so many new gun owners, meaning I don't know, tens of thousands of gun owners, throughout this the Denver area. But the number of gun owners, I'm guessing at that, of gun owners, and then not the same number of training. At least at a basic level, get in there. And that is swamped, by the way. We just added a ton more classes to accommodate new gun owners. And we say this transaction is not complete yet. You bought a gun. That's the easiest part. That's just part A. Now you've got part B, where you've got to basically get training and get a capability. You bought a product. Now there's a capability and a responsibility to go with that. So this transaction's not over yet. So I do really appreciate when people come back and pursue training to responsibly, be a responsible gun owner. So
I know, and I was talking to those people, Jimmy, a lot of women, 40, 50, 60-year-old women, and they get that. Yeah. I was sort of surprised. No resistance. Yes, I want that gun, and yes, I need to know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I thought we'd get a little more resistance on that training part, but not at all.
And I think to paint the picture a little bit, when you said you talked to these people, when we got access to the voicemail system, hundreds?
Oh, yeah.
Multiple hundreds of voicemails that just needed to get responded to.
As of 2 days ago, 260 people on the waiting list.
Wow.
So now we're funneling through and getting those people into the classes they need to start this process, to proceed at their own, at their level, at their own pace to get to a capability. We do a good job, I believe, of defining that here at Able Shepherd and at Centennial Gun Club of saying, what does that mean? There's got to be a standard, and it's got to be a good one. It's not trying to make Navy SEALs. It's not trying to make, whatever. It's just saying that you need to understand this thing and that there's rules to it. If you want to operate any tool safely, there are rules. And if you abide by those rules, you're going to have a safe, experience for the rest of your life. If you don't, there could be consequences, and it could be fatal. That's the deal.
Is there one class that's more popular or more full? Or
intro? We call it Intro to Pistol. That one is the class. Like it's we named it that way for a reason. It's an introduction to a pistol. This is a pistol. You're going to go in there and you're going to shoot it, but they're going to walk you through exactly what you're getting into and how this thing works and what the rules are. Then you go and give them a little victory, and everybody's shooting right here. A little, how to stand, like the 7 fundamentals, the 3 basic safety rules, all that. But yeah, I appreciate that people aren't just saying, hey, I got a gun, I'm good. It used to be the AR thing, buy one while you can kind of thing. And now I think really people want to know how to take care of themselves. We've been preaching that forever. That's one of the things that I'll touch on a little bit later is what can somebody do? And it's like, you better revisit that. And we don't have to tell them. They're doing it. An entire nation they see what's going on right now, and it's unsettling. Is it the worst times ever? Is it the sky's falling? It's not. Like I was talking to Rachel about that. If you talk about historically as human beings, is this the worst time in the history of it's just not.
No,
it's
not even close.
But it ain't good, and you see what's going on in front of you. So what are we talking about? And you guys feel free to jump in. Talking about COVID, talking about George Floyd, Atlanta shooting of Rayshard Brooks, the what's going on with police, the protectors of our community right now. Our communities, we employ people to protect and serve is the saying. And now you got Black Lives Matter, you got Antifa, and then the defacing of statues. So that's the stuff that comes to my mind that I just jotted down on some quick notes. We'll dive into that, but anything to add?
I think we've moved into this rush to buy weapons and get training. We've moved into a lot of people who aren't Second Amendment people who will start to look at this differently. As you can tell, they're not normally the people we deal with here. So I find that interesting to me, what that does to Second Amendment rights by people who would be either neutral or against now wanting to have gun skills. What does that do?
Yeah, it's amazing the people that, I used to jokingly say that it was gun show types. And you know what I mean? Like the gun show, the guys you see at the gun show with the big, whatever. Now it's everybody. Like at Thanksgiving this year, you're talking about pistols and what are you carrying and what'd you get and why'd you get it. The past 2 Sundays I've been in here in this building with that range on. And this is, we don't work Sundays. So this is a thing that me and my wife are doing for neighbors and for friends and for family.
Yeah.
And we're just saying,
Totally get it.
let's, why don't you just, before you make a decision, because the salesman told you to buy the most expensive gun. Oh, and it was funny. They were downtown, they were across town or whatever, and they were saying, well, hey, Glock's not safe, and this is a gun, and this is what they recommended because it's got this and that and external safety and all that stuff. And I go, let me translate. The Glocks are sold. They're gone, and I need to move this gun. So I'm gonna plus it up, and I'm gonna do the thing. And I'm gonna, hey, there you go. And thankfully he was like, that's not what I've heard. Let me ask Jimmy, whatever. So why don't you come shoot my guns? And they're like, it's always, my favorites are, is it comfortable in your hand? I'm like, we're not buying socks, man. It's that comfort is a part of it, but that's not. And they're like, well, how do you shoot it? Man, I don't even know what I'm doing. I mean, I'll point and shoot, and if I put a hole in the paper, I guess I'll buy it. Like, no, I don't even know what I'm doing yet. So those are not real good matrix. So anyways, I enjoy that. So we come in here with the families in here. There was pizza and dessert all on these tables and all that kind of stuff. And we just went and explained the basics. And they left 10 foot tall, and now they're heading off to make a purchase, Yeah. So the same thing for family that was in from out of state. They had some ideas. We went and started them off and just got them safe. And then showed them a capability, and they're all, shooting very well, and they go.
I helped a buddy, Jimmy, who came back in that story with a Kel-Tec 12 gauge with 2 magazines and a barrel. I'd never seen it. It took us both. I had to figure it out for him, but it took us both 30 minutes to figure out how that thing operated. And he had a brand new Gen 5 Glock 19, which he could not lock the slide back on, nor load the mags. I said, man, that's kind of a problem. You got to figure, a couple of these things you got to figure out before you operate that weapon.
Let's go. All right, let's figure that out. Half your range time's YouTube. Trying to figure out how this thing goes, how to make it go. All right, so COVID, you just said something interesting. You want to repeat that before we started. What's the status on that? I'll be honest, man, I've been working. So I've been jumping into this stuff and trying to track on, the next steps and new relationship up here and train all these folks and get them through the pipeline. I have heard a couple rumored deals. And as you know, Pete, we moved our TV, and I think I rewired my house wrong. So he's going to come over and check it out. So
I'm still a little worried.
So we haven't moved the cable box over and the lines and all that. So I've been without cable, throughout this time, which is actually a blessing and a curse because right now I really want to be educated on what's going on, but I haven't watched TV at all. So what did you say about COVID?
Yeah, I wouldn't say this as fact. It was, sitting with the wife before I came over here for a class tonight, and I think we've all heard about the second wave. Mm-hmm. I would say this tends to be in the October timeframe, if I had to throw a chip on the table, and 120,000 year-to-date deaths from COVID that could be attributed to it, and they were projecting 180,000 by October. So, I don't know, it's a 50% increase, rough math. And Texas shut down today. Like they had started opening up restaurants and businesses, and they said no, because they had such a spike in Houston. If I remember it properly, 100% of the ICU beds are full. Ooh. In Houston, which is
that's the number.
Pretty big city.
That's
so
the
now
one.
There's a problem. And I did hear last week I went on a trip out to Utah and down to northern Arizona. And both Utah and Arizona were starting to see a spike in their numbers as well. So I think with the warmer air, people camping in the woods, whatever it may be, I personally am going stir crazy being around the house quite a bit. I just want to get out and do something. And I think that's attributing to, I don't want to call it a spike, but things are starting to trend up again. And that's basically what the newscast said.
Yeah, and you had a reply to that when we were talking about that. It's like, how long will this continue? And I've heard this before, till the election. That's right. I simply don't trust it. And I think I'm going to be very frank on this one because I think a lot of people are biting their tongue, including pastors. I'm pretty proud. My pastor's been doing a pretty good job of this, but I've heard people that you can use COVID and George Floyd. If you can work that into your agenda, you're probably going to make headway. You're going to move forward, and it doesn't matter if your agenda's right or wrong. If you can somehow twist it into your agenda, you're probably going to make some yardage. What say you, Neil Pinkham?
I say when you use lies to build your story, it always falls back on you. It always will fall to pieces eventually. And so I think this whole thing is full of lies. fact, I think we're trying to find some truth out there that we can build upon and find agreements on. You know, if we're ever going to find a place where we as a race or races are trying to find common ground, better be built on truth. Otherwise, it's a sham, or it's a shakedown, and it's a major shakedown going on right now financially. So I have yet to find much of it. The noise machine is so loud with the lies and so efficient and never ending. It's just oppressive. It just beats you down. That's like 101. Let the majority sound like the minority sound like the majority, and the majority will shut up. So I think that we're so much in that. But maybe little pieces. And this week is the first week I saw where little pieces of common sense reality are starting to show up from unusual people. Charles Barkley, to me, meant a lot to me, what he had to say about some things. And so this is the first time I think we're starting to hear some rational thinking come into the game. So that's what I think.
So now you're talking about like the race, you know, obviously there's police stuff going on. There's the race car being thrown out left, right, in every direction. This one, I'm just gonna tack it on. This makes me crazy. So I've heard about like the whole going out and bowing down to black people and apologizing and this kind of thing. I see where I'm living and across this nation, a lot of entitled people that are so afraid that they might be racist, they're going to go out and try to prove, hey, I'm not racist by doing something extremely racist. You know, like if somebody came, I don't know, first you got to find a black man. So like how do I find him? Like, well, how do you know who to bow to? You can say it because he's black. Okay, that's racist. You're going to go find a black man and say, hey, you people, you know, like you've been wrong. So can I bow and apologize for my race? It's just insane.
Yeah.
Like I don't.
What did that do?
Stand for it at all. And I get it. That some things happened with George Floyd. I don't know anybody that said, yeah, get some whatever and agrees with that. Have you ever heard anybody say that? Maybe because I haven't been watching cable or whatever. Everybody I've seen this is wrong. This is absolutely wrong. I've taught cuffing. I've been taught cuffing. I've taught elite forces on how to use any kind of restraints, from flex cuffs to steel cuffs to just all the stuff, zip ties, if you didn't have things. Once somebody's cuffed, they're in your custody. If they fall down the stairs, it's your fault. You might be going to jail. Everybody kind of knows that. So what happened was just simply wrong. It was, you call it bad training, call it, a mistake, call it I don't even know what you want to call it, but he screwed up on that, in that case. To sit there and not understand, when this guy's pleading with him, and I think everybody that I know of is like, they immediately put themselves in there, what would I have done if I was the guy standing there talking? Because he's like, please, just check his pulse, man, that kind of thing. That guy was trying to help out a fellow human being, and I don't care what color he is. At that point, that was just wrong. And it should be dealt with. And I don't care if it's the SEAL teams. I don't care if it's the Army. I don't care if you're a fireman, a policeman, or you're just a dude walking down the street. There's these brotherhoods that are formed, and you can call it the blue line, or you can call it the SEAL team, whatever, the brotherhood is what we call it. If somebody is negligent, knowingly they make a mistake, they kill it, murder a guy, and you cover it up, you're not helping that guy, you're screwing everybody. You know what I mean? So I've always said this, and it would apply to police too, is that protect the good cops, support them, because we need them.
Yep.
Punish the bad ones, but not behind closed doors. Let everybody see it. Like, no, that was wrong, and we don't support that. That's not what you were taught. It's not you, whatever. At some point, you lost that humanity that is very much required for this job, and we're going to make an example of you. So nobody else does it again. That what's rewarded will be repeated. Can't happen. Now, that qualified, whatever it is, immunity, whatever, do you get rid of that? I don't believe that's true either, because they're doing a job that you wouldn't do. Like, we don't want to do that. I don't want to go do that job. Parts of that job are just bad. If I want to be a cop, I'd be a cop right now. It's not like I couldn't do that, with the background, all that stuff. But I'm glad they're there. I saw something ridiculous about, what Paw Patrol is? Like my little 6-year-old son, Paw Patrol.
Yeah,
there is a cry to remove the police dog.
Yeah.
Like the cartoon. So they want to go after the hearts and minds of our children to not respect police officers. And I just simply, no. The answer is no. There has to be, and I've said this many times on the podcast, an adult has to enter the room and just say no. Not going to happen, And I've heard, whether it be Donald Trump or political leaders say that, like, listen, we're not doing that. Just not going to happen. Because if not, those little yipping, ankle biting dogs, they actually get attention. And that's exactly what they want in the first place. So, I'm pretty fed up with it as well.
Well, and one thing that's maybe kind of sort of related to that I cannot process is how does a group of, and I'm all for a peaceful protest. Hey, you want your voice heard, you want to make a statement, I get it. But taking over 7 city blocks, and as far as I know, nothing's happening. Nobody's going in to take it back and say, no, this is public property. This is the police headquarters.
Yeah.
I think the mayor's getting shamed. I mean, it's so ridiculous what they did, and they let a police department go. So a black woman police captain was ordered out, and first she stood against it. She felt, hey, this is not right. And within 3 days, she turned and said, hey, I get this, and she was walking amongst them. And now that mayor has really been called on the carpet for, now all of a sudden people are getting killed and people are getting shot and people are getting raped, and undercover guys, this Andy Ngo was in there filming this stuff, and it gets out just how outrageous it is. She's the one that said, hey, maybe this is a summer of love, why are you busting this thing? So meanwhile, property owners are having their shops closed down, taxes extorted, stuff's getting
stolen.
And property rights are the basis of English law, American law.
That's a pretty big jump from a peaceful protest. I want my message heard to now I'm going to act like a 3-year-old, throw a fit, light something on fire, destroy something of yours, steal something of yours. Somebody's got to stop that. I don't know.
Are those the same people?
I don't know.
The same people that are protesting, are those the same people that are causing the chaos, right?
In some cases, yes, because the protests that get violent. But so when I see if I saw a cop car sitting right outside, the last thing I want to do is throw a brick through the window. You know why? Because I bought it. Like, because I pay taxes, then I can use more of my money to buy another one. You know what I mean? Because there is some kind of skin in the game. If I don't pay taxes, or if it's a gimme and I get everything handed to me, there's just no accountability there. There's no skin in the game, and you're like, they'll make another one. They'll print more money. And I got to share the story because this came up the other day, and I was telling Parker about this last night. As I remember, I was in USS Enterprise, the SEAL teams. I'm standing on the flight deck. We're flying on and off. I'm up there early because I'm a communicator, and I see this guy, young black man, airman. He's running the flight deck, right? And that's not a small responsibility because, like, when we left on that deployment, we just left and there was a crash and dudes died. It's just a dangerous thing. You don't have to be in the middle of war zone. We just left Virginia, heading east, and there was already a bad crash. So he's up there and he's just squared away, locked on, and he's telling people, and just professional. I just remember commenting, saying like, hey man, how you doing? Like, hey man, this is, tough. And he's like, yeah, I got to keep him straight, man. And it was amazing. It was just cool to see him work because he's firing all cylinders and everything was safe. And we just started talking a little bit. And he just, where are you from? And he was talking about like his brothers and everybody in his neighborhood was just like, it was either drugs, gangs, and he said, I'm not doing this. Like, I want to raise a family. And he basically joined the Navy, worked his butt off, and now he owns a home. Modest living, but it's an honest living. And he's like, he just loves his job. And it was clearly very good at it. I remember that of just somebody saying, no, there's no excuses here. This is accountability, and I'm going to work, and that's just honest. So I've had people say, oh, you live over here, there's black people. And I was like, when I moved there, I didn't check how many black people live in Castle Rock. I just didn't. I checked the crime, and I don't care who's doing it. White, black, Mexican, I don't even care. But well, you're lucky because you have that choice. No, I don't know if luck had anything to do with it, because I didn't come from money. I worked my butt off to have a choice to pick where I'm going to live. Yep. And I want to live somewhere safe. So if you want to try to guilt me into that, it's just not going to happen. Why? Because I know who I am. And I'm not confused on if I'm a racist. I'm not. Have I experienced racism? Absolutely. Just me and my mother's, born in Okinawa, and, kids on the playground, this and that, people making comments, and, Rachel's got a story about Chink and Charlie and all this stuff, and I knocked them out or whatever. It's just where it worked out, whatever. And it just was
some racism for you.
Provoking me or whatever, but it's like that's just something that does it make it right, wrong, and different? Is it your fault? It's just not. You weren't the guy. My grandfather was a slave. Okay, I get that too. But you weren't. Why do you think you're entitled to money? I don't buy into that, not even a little bit. So, people will try to sit there and say, my niece, young lady, basketball scholarship, got like a counseling session from a girl on her team that happened to be black, and gave her assignments to go watch movies and think about the black people. I was like, I don't answer to you. That's what I was like, I would tell you, right, I don't answer to you. I'm not a racist, and I'm not confused about that. So, don't give me assignments to try to convince me that somehow I'm racist and I need to change my ways. Ways are fine, whatever. Yep. So what I told her, actually, I sent her a song. This is funny because I'm going to sing this. I'm not going to sing it. I'm sorry. I'm going to read it. You don't want me to sing this, by the way. Have you guys heard, you know who Aaron Tippett is?
I don't.
Yeah. What? You don't know? Come on, man. He's got like this really twangy voice, kind of funny, but he's like a yoke dude. You wouldn't expect the voice. It's almost like Mike Tyson. Like, how does that voice come out of that dude? That guy looks like he's going to, steal my lunch money. But anyways, and I sent it, and I said, listen to the words. I've literally played this song and had my kids listen to every word and talked about it and everything. But it's a classic. It's from growing up. I don't even know what year it is. But it's called "You Got to Stand for Something." You got to stand for something, or you fall for anything is basically the chorus or whatever. But it says, "Now, Daddy didn't like trouble, but if it came along, everyone that knew him knew which side that he'd be on. He never was a hero or this county's shining light, but you could always find him standing up for what he thought was right." So the chorus says, he'd say, "You've got to stand for something or you'll fall for anything. You've got to be your own man and not a puppet on a string. Never compromise what's right and uphold your family name. You've got to stand for something or you'll fall for anything." So that's the chorus. And then it says, "Now, we might have been better off or owned a bigger house if Daddy had done more giving up or a little more backing down. But we always had plenty, just living his advice. Whatever you do today, you've got to sleep with tonight." And then the chorus, whatever. Last one says, "Now I know things are different than they were in Daddy's day, but I still believe what makes a man really hasn't changed." Then I explained to them, like, you know who you are. Don't let other people that are searching, we talk about this all the time, people are searching about the man they want to be, the woman they want to be. Not kids, I'm talking 60 and 70-year-old men. They're just not sure and they're watching you. And if you are up for suggestion on who you are and what you believe, any wind will blow you. And that's what I'm trying to instill in them. It took a long time to get there. I'm not like I've arrived or anything, but I don't have a lot of questions, based on obviously our shared faith. I just don't. I understand right and wrong. Certain things, on this are a little touchy, but I'm not like, man, Pinkham, am I a racist? It's just not a question in my head, and I don't care what statue. If you want to tear down George Washington's statue while you're holding a George Floyd statue, I'm just not in. I disagree, respectfully disagree. I remember my family posted something. It's like, man, I went to a survey. It was a panel, and I love this person. She's one of my favorite people ever. She's a bubbly, fun person. Lives in, let me see, Portland, Oregon? No, maybe Washington, whatever. Up in the Northeast, beautiful country. But went to a seminar, some kind of panel, talking to like a black person, asking this question, which just strikes me funny. All these white people, "Black man, I have a question for you." That's just totally disrespectful. Whatever. I get it. You want to understand. I don't have a black friend, so can I ask you? It's like, what are you doing? But they were saying, you don't see us camping and hiking because when we're out, we're kind of scared we'll get lynched. And like, come on, man. Because one dude said it because he don't like camping doesn't make it true.
Yeah,
and I've seen black people hiking and camping. It's like, that's, again.
Use some common sense. And sadly for all, and it's usually the younger people because they're the ones who are still forming their opinions more. It's kind of hard to take guys our age and, try to pick a place where we don't really have some thoughts about who we are. But equally, there's a number of people trying to control that narrative, trying to tell you, so try to drive that whole victimhood thing into your head and, how wrong people have, how white people have been wrong and black people all the time. And it becomes kind of that new narrative. And that's such it's a terrible form of controlling people.
Well, it's interesting, too, because I don't think any of us grew up with social media. We got the news from maybe the TV or the newspaper, and I don't get the feeling there's a lot of check and balance with social media. You just post whatever the heck you want.
Oh, it's wide open.
So if you are not sure of your ways, if you are open to ideas, wow, there you are, 24 hours a day just on the internet.
And I don't think it's a balanced medium either. I think it's a one-sided medium very much. Filters
very extreme.
Yeah, filters heavily for ideas I don't like. So,
What's the motive?
well, You went right to it, didn't
Funny
you?
you should ask, Jimmy Graham. It's like,
I got
we didn't
90
set all this-
pages
We
here.
didn't set all this stuff up for nothing, Pinkham. Say some stuff.
So I am obsessed all the time with trying to connect the dots, So when I look at what happened on Floyd's death, I mean, that was a terrible thing. I still don't know if that was race or what that was, because when that cop looked into that camera staring straight at him with all those people saying, "Get off him, you're killing him," he stared right into it like it was an evil power play. Was it murder? Absolutely. It was a terrible murder. And those other guys didn't help the situation. You and I had talked about guys who are under somebody's authority as police that are fear of sort of interrupting the number one guy and what he's doing. But they stood there and watched that guy get murdered. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Bad murder. And then how that thing sort of explodes. I think there's so much ready for that moment. Everybody's ready for that moment. Charlottesville, when the skinheads and all that stuff are marching, and here comes Antifa. They're ready for the moment. They're ready for an outcome with their cameras rolling, everything. It's a very practiced thing. So we got that one, and then we got the one in Atlanta with Brooks that blew up right on the hill. Two very different stories, by the way, but I don't think anybody even cares. I mean, I have talked to all kind of white people, and they don't even know that. It's just cops killing black people. That's all they know. But they're two different things. And so the sound machine is really well tuned up and works extremely well, and it's gone so much farther than any one of us even realize. It's been quietly working. I mean, there's some scholars who do an excellent job of, hey, listen, that thing that happened to you guys in the 60s with Vietnam never ended. Those guys didn't go away. The Black Panthers, the same thing, by the way, was going on back then. The SDS and the Weathermen and all the white guys who were revolting and the Black Panthers came in on the same time. Those people failed on what they wanted to do, which was fundamentally transform America then, but they all stayed in play and kept going, meaning they turned the schools to indoctrination. They got God out of the schools. They got it out of government. Churches have been marginalized. Families have been broken up. And this never-ending machine and this constant drumbeat, I remember under the last administration, what pissed me off so much was this never-ending talk of gender warfare, class warfare, race warfare. We came into that without having a great sense of all this warfare going on, but we came out of that with a huge sense. Oh my gosh, must be a giant war going on. But the sound machine is so good. And then, so I keep tracing back, why? And because, Fox will do this. They'll buffoon CNN, MSNBC, CBS, ABC, NBC, NPR, and PBS. For on the very same day, they come out with the same buzzwords. How could 6 and 7 networks? And now you got this
words.
exact words.
When you see those collages of all those,
it
is literally a ticker
shocking
tape. It's
how
like, hey,
that
this is what
happen?
we're saying today. Ready,
so
go.
Now 80%, 90% of the people in the nation have all heard the same words. So it just makes it sound, it's got to be right. It's just so true. So how does that happen? So I go into, like I say, I keep delving in. So Laura Logan, one of my favorites on the podcast, and she investigates this. So there was a guy who was very much a part of that leftist sound machine who was very much making a fortune, very much involved with it, but he got on the wrong side because one of his good accounts was Julian Assange. And when Julian disclosed Hillary Clinton and the Russians for what was going on between them, that really pissed off the left, and he got dumped. I mean, that's how they do it. They marginalize you, they polarize you, they isolate you, and your career's over. So he came out and he spoke and talked about why does that happen? What's that process? And he took it over to the next thing, which was Media Matters. The guy who runs Media Matters was very much a right-wing hitman. But the problem he kept running into was the information he wanted to flow out nobody cared about the right side viewpoint, so he got no traction with all of this press. So he jumped to the left and instantly found they loved it. They took his information unchecked, because there's nobody ever apologizes. They barely even say, well, we screwed up. They hit somebody and they move on. There's never any retraction, never any solution. The person's damaged, that's over. And that's how that system works. And that's how that whole thing happens. So exactly. And inside that group, they have 7 different departments writing the propaganda. Because, it's always hugely anti-Trump. Why? Because he messed their party up big time. I always remember when Trump was on the hot mic with Putin, he's telling the president, hey, when this election's over, tell Putin we'll be able to do more. They caught him on that open mic on that thing. Well, and he's talking about we're going to fundamentally change society. We're going to change the United States of America's society. And he did. It was tremendous. And had Hillary come in, I think it had been too far. We'd have been too far down the road to turn this. So now why it's critical Trump's come in 3 years. Why did they hate him so much? Well, because he's turning us back to, are we going to go back to the United States as we knew it? Or are we going to go on to this new United States, which many people in the world order want to have happen? Chinese are banging us, the Russians are banging us. Many people inside the United States are doing the same thing for this movement. And behind Media Matters being funded, there's George Soros again, with his one world government mentality, which is right back to who stands in the world and who stops much of these kinds of things happening, United States of America, in its strong form. But when it crashes, and then they've got their lists of ways they tear down the United States of America. So you keep tracing it back, you keep finding some of the obvious answers on that kind of thing.
I didn't used to believe that. I didn't used to believe that there were these kind of puppet masters that work people and all that stuff. I absolutely believe it now. Meaning that there are people that we're the big kid on the block. Nobody likes a big kid on the block, but everybody kind of wants to see that person fall. Now, obviously, even some people within, I've said this before, let's take it to the streets, let's revolution all this stuff. That's not the romantic thing that you think it is. That's a bad, long recovery type road. And I think that we're resilient, human beings and all that stuff are resilient, but I think it is a fragile balance. Society is a fragile balance, meaning
particularly a sophisticated one like we have.
Have you heard this? I just typed it out from memory, so I think I got it right. But it talks about that, with these stages of societies when they get up to luxury, think Rome is burning kind of thing, where it's once you're suburban America is bored. Like you said, if it's I see these kids in Castle Rock and they're say his name, George Floyd, and they're doing all this stuff, and they just want to be a part of something. And if you ask them, they don't even know. But you'll see them. We've done security at these things, and they're walking away on a phone. Look at their Starbucks and everything. Oh man, it was amazing, and I stood up for justice. And they have no idea. They were just a part of something cool. Because I've been bored, and I had nothing going on. So let's go do a thing and tear down a statue and do whatever. But again, what do you stand for? A lot of people will say will tell you quickly what they don't stand for. They go, what do you stand for? They go, I have no idea. Just whatever, America and stuff. It's you better figure that out. You better figure it out, and you better let your kids see you figure it out. That's my thing. It's is everything that I do, everything I say, everything from my family being in this weekend, everything from the decisions we make and the gatherings we hold, and me checking a grown man on his language. They're watching. They're on record the entire time, right? It's my job, and I take it seriously. But I think that when you start getting to people that get too comfortable, they get in that luxury state, and they get bored, now they're just not sure. Their biggest problem is, do I drive the Lexus or the friggin', whatever. This saying, I love it. It's one of my favorites. Hard times make strong men. Strong men make good times. Good times make weak men. Weak men make hard times. That just speaks out to me, because it's man, I just got bored, hung out on the couch, I blinked, and my country was gone. I have had more people contact me recently, guys I haven't heard from for a long time, and they're saying, what do I do as a Christian man who cares, who deeply loves this country? I was talking to a guy right here behind me in this thing, and almost tears in his eyes. He's he's a firefighter. I love this country. He's I was brought to tears the other night seeing before me what's happening. I'm just not sure what to do. So what does a guy do? What does and I get it, and we're not talking boogaloo boys, grab your ARs and stand by a thing. That annoys me. I'm not saying there's not a time for that, but we're not here, at least. I haven't seen the cues that would spark that. We are more for protecting people. I get it, it's property. I get it, we shouldn't let that stuff happen. But then you see this, the shooting that happened, was it New Mexico? Where they're pulling the chain down on the guy, and he gets hit by a skateboard, all that kind of stuff. I don't know where I would stand on that. If somebody's going to, that particular story, whatever. But what would someone do if somebody said, "Hey, what would be your answer?" Sorry to put you on the spot on this one, but it truly is. Somebody goes, "Man, I'm not sure what should I be doing right now." What say you, BK?
My initial thought, had some drive time this weekend with my son, and like I said, I couldn't get my head around this Seattle thing and a lot of things going on in the world. And I'm like, if you don't like the United States that much, Canada's north, Mexico's south, why don't you leave?
Love it or leave it.
Because it is pretty comfortable here. There's great transportation. There's lots of opportunities to make money, earn a living. We've all kind of came from nothing and built what we have. And why these people think they can yell and scream and tear down statues and that's going to make progress really kind of bothers me. And if you really don't like it that much, go.
Yeah.
Or why don't the powers that be, can they take away passports? Can they deport people? It's like, hey, you don't like our rules.
Yeah.
There's
the answer to solving racism isn't more racism.
No.
One of my pet peeves is reverse racism.
Yeah.
Because obviously that's, when a black person is racist. No, it's not. There's no such thing as reverse racism. If you're a racist, you're a racist. So it's like, when like a white person is whatever, that's racism. And if it's somebody else, it's reverse racism. No, it's not. It's just racism.
Yeah,
so, if you change the color of this person's skin, it's just
brainwashing
racism.
right there.
That's it. Like they should make rules. They do. They have hate crimes, How we talked about gay rights, it's like, you can't beat a black man. You can't beat anybody. That's a law.
Yeah,
you have to enforce the laws that are already there. So that makes me crazy. It's funny because you guys don't know this yet, but I've written this thing that's being reviewed by lawyers, so this isn't the final one. He'll probably tell me not to say certain stuff. But we have a Able Shepherd Code of Conduct. I think it's appropriate here because the Boogaloo Boy thing is what kind of sparked us having to write this. So it's being reviewed right now, but it will be on our website and all that kind of stuff. And I call part of it, I do a little intro that talks about what Able Shepherd is our training program, obviously. And then I put, it's basically ride for the brand and then protect the brand. That's basically the rules, if you will, the standard for being here, training here. Ride for the brand, and this is serve the mission, not yourself. If you're doing it for you, and then I put look at me, that's a saying that me and my buddies used to use. Oh, look at me. So serve the mission, not yourself. If you're doing it for you, look at me, you're probably wrong. The next one is know and support the Second Amendment. Obviously doing what we're doing, we should probably know that and support it. Know your local gun laws and how they affect you. Have the realistic capability to responsibly defend yourself, your family, and your loved ones. Be professional and courteous while wearing branded clothing or displaying the brand, meaning our logo. Be an example of what we want more of. So I think that's huge, like what you want more of. The instructors, these guys, are what I want more of. That's why I put them there. I don't want more of some knucklehead. That's why I don't hire knuckleheads.
How did we get there?
How am I sitting here?
But I'm sitting here and I just hear respect.
Yeah, speak intelligently about the program and what we do to empower responsible citizens, and then quiet, professional, capable. What about protect the brand? Protecting the brand says serve the mission, not yourself. If you're doing it for you, look at me, you're probably wrong. I did that one twice intentionally. Do not agitate a volatile situation, obviously in some of the security stuff we do. Do not wear branded clothing to politically inspired or non-sanctioned events. Speak intelligently about the program, i.e. friends, family, anyone who would benefit from our training, but not on behalf of the program, i.e. media, LE organizations, etc. Only the public relations officer for Able Shepherd would be speak on the behalf. Sanctioned events, sometimes we get volunteers to go keep things safe. We can't have people doing it. I think there's so many people that are like, look at me, I'm standing out here for me, and I can tell my friends that I came out here with all my tactical gear and the stuff that I bought on Amazon, and I'm the protector of Castle Rock. No, you're not. There's people for that. I shouldn't say no, you're not. Yes, you are, but there's processes that have to go through. We recently had a deal in Castle Rock, I think we already talked about it, where I was talking to police, and their goal was to not agitate. They had it under control, so I'm going to make it worse by doing that. but there's no coordination, and some selfish guy wants to step out there and be like, I am the guy, and I'll do the thing. That's not helping. So that's
and
where
I think something that's interesting for myself, probably Neil, for you certainly with the teams, but growing up playing sports, you realize there's not one guy that changes the game. You know, you're only as strong as your weakest link, and you have to move, operate, and think, practice, and prepare as a team. So when I'm at the house and it's me and the wife, we're a team. It's a different dynamic. You know, there's the front door, there's the back door. Okay, there's our weakness. Got to protect that. Now, if Able Shepherd is providing some type of security, let's say for a parade, a homecoming parade at a local high school, you know, we're not there to uphold the law. We're there just to see if something funny's happening in the crowd, right?
Yeah.
And I'm assuming, never been a part of one, that the local police force or the campus resource officer is aware, and he knows who's doing what. There's a plan.
Yeah.
When one guy goes rogue, or one person, I should say, problems happen, because now you're off the script. You're not playing as a team member, and things can get out of whack in a hurry.
Yeah, absolutely. Pinkham, what say you? What would be your answer? I come up to you, hey, Pinkham. I think I know your answer because you'd bring him to the gun club, because I think you just came up here with a buddy and you're like, hey, I got to show him some stuff. But what can people do? Law-abiding citizen. I want to, I want to be a solution. I don't want to be like a, hey, this is a bunch of stuff, problem. But I want to make a difference. I'm just not sure who to support, what to do.
So starting with myself, I notice that we've all been shamed into shutting up. You know, the racist word just scares the heck out of everybody, so we all shut up. So my normal thing is to shut up until I just get mad, and then I just get mad at people. And I just which does nothing good back. Trying to talk about them, how stupid you are, and how little you understand. Yeah. So in prayer, I'm really coming to, how do I find peace? How do I get back to a peaceful place of discussing it? Because I love the Quaker statement that we have a right to bear fair witness. I mean, we have the obligation to tell the truth as we know it. So, and in peace and in love, so people can hear it and can consider it. So I always go to stats, and I always go to reality, and there's no reality that backs the Black Lives Matter concept. Black Lives Matter, sure, but the concept of is a political movement that has now taken in $1.7 billion. And the Black Entertainment Network guy is telling them, break off, you're a political party now.
Wow.
They're as powerful at the moment as Republicans, Democrats. So what do you do? Well, I do look for voices that I believe in and back on a smaller basis. And I've begun to speak in balance and peace to people who disagree with me. Listen to them, and it's usually the same. It's just the DNC talking points. And I've heard them 1,000 times, misogyny and racist and all that stuff, and all the name calling, which is just part of the plan. And so try to deal with it, try to interject a point, try to keep going, try to unify, try to speak truth together right here. This is a broadcast mechanism. Try to hear what other people are saying, so I'm really reaching out on that one. And progress, I mean, I'm a history guy. I look at this, and I really, what I see is Antifa is nothing but the brown shirts that were with Hitler and the black shirts that were Mussolini. And this is exactly how those nations fell. Both Italy and Germany fell the exact same way of the path we're going down, the same thugs on the street, scaring people to death, getting them to shut up. So it takes great courage just to stand up and testify to what you see and believe, what's your story, and take a stance. We've all been out in the field. We've stood across from Antifa. It can be a little scary, but at the same time, if you're balanced and you know what you're doing, it's fine. And that's it. We got to find the truth. Dark runs in the face of light. We got to bear the light. We know how this turns out, and we just can't get rolled over. You got to stand in there, stand in the gap, stand in there, and not fall on this one. and encourage other people to do the same, other men and women of good faith, people who want to do the right thing, encourage them to stand and do the right thing too, and try to formulate what that message is. It's clearly not to capitulate and kowtown and, pay homage to the mob. That's just playground bully 101.
There's just no fruit. When you talk about fruit of the Spirit, like it's biblical term, obviously, there's no fruit there. Like when you meet these people and they're mad and they're sarcastic and they're, whatever, I just don't see it. It's like the love, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, something, self-control.
Kindness.
Okay, whatever, kindness, gentleness, and self-control. That truly is going to be like, and it talks about, in Scripture about how to balance that is like, how do you know? How do you know it's right? There's got to be a truth, and then there is the truth in the Word, and that's going to bear fruit. So you know people that live a certain way of life, and they'll tell you, you just told me about a friend of yours, and rah, 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 and you just don't feel it. Like, I don't feel it at all. You're not at peace. You're not, there's no kindness in you, whatever, and you're just mad, but you insist on continuing to do that and claiming you're right. I just don't buy it. Yeah. And that's why that song really grabbed me of like, stand for something, fall for anything. If you don't know what you stand for, you are up for any suggestion. Mm-hmm. And that's what I see as a bunch of people that have no idea who they are. And I don't care if they're 20 or they're 60-something, they have no idea of the man they want to be or the woman. And then somebody tells them, like, yeah, I'll do that. And that's powerful. Because now you're like, you got a little money in your pocket. You might drive a decent car or worked hard for a living, and somebody convinced you that you stepped on somebody to get there. I just don't buy it. Whatever. It's like, I know you, and I know myself. We've worked very hard. If anything, we help people we didn't even know and didn't even care about their color, as far as in a negative way. Friends in the military. Yes, I've heard stories of being bad. I don't know that I've seen a lot of that stuff. I didn't care. If you're a capable person and you do your job and you're out of your, and you're working and helping the cause, it doesn't really matter what color you are, So that's just, again, if people can, I tell my kids this, and it truly is something that should be told to anybody, even if they're children. I say, don't worry about what other people say, unless they're right. They're like, what do you mean unless they're right? Like, if they call you a thief, do you steal stuff? If the answer is yes, stop stealing stuff. Whatever, because you're a thief, whatever. Yeah. If you don't, it just doesn't matter. Like, that's just, they're barking in the wind. You're not a thief. Don't say, move on. Like, I don't answer to you. Goodbye. Be cool and just go about your day, and don't even let it affect you. If they are right, if there's some truth to it, yeah, did you steal the thing? I did. I probably shouldn't do that. Okay, well then stop stealing. We got some work to do. That's where I think people go, like, they call you something, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not sure if I am. Okay, well then you got to figure some stuff out. Like right now, before you even walk out that door, spend a second, find out who you are, and then go out, because you're not helping anybody, especially your children. So like my kids look at me as I'm the biggest figure. Like we've talked about the hero word and how that bothers me. People call me hero, whatever. But I do want to be a hero to them. That's it. Right. I don't even need to be a hero to my wife. I want to be a husband and all that stuff. To them, I'm absolutely their hero, and that's good enough for me. So what I say, they are on record all the time. So I had to actually make a correction, because I heard Rebecca chime in on this whole situation, because she heard Rachel say something. She's like, oh, Dad, I said this. I was like, hey, honey, just be careful of what you say, because our words mean something, and this is a sensitive thing. What you just said may offend somebody's parent, and they may send you home for saying that. And I get it. You might have heard Mom or me say that. But this is a bigger deal than this. So we just got to be responsible about what we say. Whatever. There's a lesson in it. And she felt bad. Don't apologize, honey. This is what I'm here for. I'm here to correct you and guide you and all this stuff. But they're watching. And we got to be careful. Like if you're out pulling over statues and being another, your kids are watching. Guess what's going to happen on the next generation? Yep. Now, and I don't want to play the kids today game either, because I've said this many times. That whole thing with Hitler and Stalin and all that stuff, what is the answer? The answer is our future. The answer is our kids. We don't ask anything except for, hey, only play video games for 8 hours a day, try to limit it. Like, it's just ridiculous. But if we asked them to win a war for us, they would. We don't ask anything anymore. You don't have to do anything. Just pick up your room, right. Maybe bitch about it, whatever, and then, I'll hire somebody else to mow the lawn. Like, that's just not really, a tall order. But if we demand something from them right now, they would do it. And we may come to that.
I think societally we're hurting for strong, gentle men to find, that balance of strength and gentleness and love. So, that you think about that concentric circle that you live in. There's you, Then there's how you treat your wife around your kids. And then there's how you treat your kids, how you admonish, how you teach, how you care, how you play. And now you've just taken your family unit and led them, and your neighbors start to see that. And then you step up and you lead Abel Shepherd, and look how big that's gotten to be as a model to all of these men and women who come here to find this thing we're looking for together, and all of their kids and all the impact. So yeah, it can go bad, and yeah, it can go really good when you do it right, when you simply understand, hey, your greatest battle may be holding your family together, taking care of your wife, supporting your kids, holding a family together in really rough times to do that, and teaching them and taking them forward. But that light touches so many places when that happens. And black culture, 70% of the kids raised without fathers. I mean, I think that was a governmental thing done to them on purpose back in '65 with all that aid for dependent children. But that has hurt that society terribly. So what do you got? You got gangs, you got drop out of school, you got 20 times higher risk of ending up in crime and in jail. It's just like, so what's the importance of a father and men in this role? Huge, huge. If you accomplish nothing more in life but to do that, that's a huge victory right there.
Yeah, absolutely. You made a comment earlier about schools are broken, churches are broken, all of that stuff. Is that part of this? Is it just many things are breaking? Is it accountability? So it's just affecting all these different areas, in your opinion?
I think it's a willful destruction of everything that makes America America. I think it's a planned, willful destruction written down in 1920 by one guy named Saul Alinsky, exactly how you destroy America from the inside out. There's like 8 points he printed out, and it's just
checking off the
class warfare, poverty, because then once you give them enough to eat, you can get total control of that class of people. Healthcare is number one. Take over healthcare. You control healthcare. You've got the number one control of the people. So and you look at all 8 accounts, and they made huge progress on all one of them. And destruction of the family, destruction of the things that help family units, all that kind of stuff. I think it's very willful how long this has been going on, and exactly what's happening, and how effective it's been. And it can be defeated, sure, if we stay to what made us great. Constitutional adherence, God-centered, all men are created equally. Hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created and dwelled by their Creator with the rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. If that doesn't say it all, I mean, what other country has ever said that to its people? Everybody's the same. Yeah, we had a rough start, and we also fought a war to stop it. And what other country has done that? I mean, every country in the world has had slavery in its past. So we've also done a lot of good things. And to become who we are today, I mean, if we lose those roots of who we were, God-centered, the church, the family, constitutional adherence, less government, more self-reliance. I mean, you preach that all the time. It's so true. And the SEALs preach that a lot, I think, too, where that you take care of yourself, your buddy takes care of you, and then if you need more, you take it from a higher...
self-aid, buddy aid, Medicaid.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about with the history and all that kind of stuff. This statue thing of just removing these. There's not a perfect man. There's one perfect man that's walked this planet. If we want to put up statues of Jesus, I'm all for it. That people just passed out right now. That's okay. You'll be all right. But I don't think anybody put that up and saying this. Before you, George Washington stands a perfect man, but now pulling him down to make you feel better.
So Orwell said, control history, you control the future. So what do you think they're trying to do?
Yeah,
they're wiping out all our history.
Yeah, and this simple thing like with the minds of our children as well. What does that do for kids? We're going to remove the cop dog on a cartoon, because of the... I've been to countries where the police are not trustworthy. It's just a bad deal. I told Rachel this because she's like, hey, what do you think about this? And I'm like, I think this is the best in the world. Does it mean it's perfect? It's not. If you've been to a country where you're like, man, don't call the police or don't go over there, whatever.
You don't
if
think
you've
you're
got
gonna
to
get
pay
out.
off a cop, whatever, all this stuff, it's like you're going to jail and they're going to do the thing, like even something silly like all the college kids that go over to Tijuana, and there's so many cops are just hanging out, waiting for some dude to go behind the building and take a leak and everything. And that's the game. It's like, nah, keep it coming. Now, okay, now you can go because now you're afraid you're going to end up in some Mexican jail, whatever. It's
Scary
just
thought.
bad. It's bad, and that's just the tip of the iceberg when you start talking about cartels in Colombia and all that kind of stuff. So it can be just a bad deal. So we can pretend that it's the worst in the world. It's simply not. And we can pretend that we're all racist. That's just not true. So at some point, there's got to be truth. Truth has to come up. An adult has to enter this conversation and say, no, I don't answer to you. Go away. and
your kids are
keep
acting
chase.
out.
Keep chase on Paw Patrol. Okay, let's make a T-shirt. Let's start this.
No way. We're drawing the line right there, man.
All right. So, last parting thoughts. Anything that we didn't cover? Let's see. And I think that those words, like you said, this has all been said before. United we stand, divided we fall. This is so divisive. I'll probably hear from my family member that posted that about the black people hiking and all that stuff because afraid they get wrenched. Come on, man. I just don't buy it. And if you think that, that's not a problem with society. It's a problem with you. The data's just not there. Like of all the people that got lynched for hiking in Colorado. Remember those guys? No, you don't because it didn't happen. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. I think that this is so divisive. COVID walking out of his doors without a mask on or somebody with a mask. It's just, it's a bad deal. I heard about this. Do you guys hear about the blackout page? If you didn't black out your page, then you're a racist.
Yeah.
Like that's simply not true. Somebody said it, somebody repeated it. You can pretend it. I can say stuff, you can repeat it too. It doesn't necessarily make it true. So that's just ridiculous stuff. But what is truth? You've got to find out what your truth is. For me, obviously, my truth, due to my faith, comes from the Word of God, and it's never led me wrong. By the way, it's never led anybody wrong. And this
where all the wisdom comes from,
nation was built on it. It doesn't mean that we can't destroy this nation. It means that it was built, and it's the best one that the world's ever seen.
That's a threat to all those who want to take over control of the world.
Right. So the way I would answer that is, when we talk about what can somebody do, what can I do? I think that we've already covered that root cellar mentality, not as a scared go hide in the hills thing, but I think that this isn't good. This isn't stable right now. When we talk about people going out and buying guns and ammo and all that kind of stuff and how fragile that system is, I don't know what that's going to look like, but I think as a rule, we should be able to feed our families for a while. We should be able to have water. We should be able to defend our lives, if things got really bad. I'm not trying to instigate it. I'm saying if it happened, you better know how to handle yourself because there's no time after that. It's like if it's something breaks, you're not going to be able to come in here and have a class because I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be hanging out with my family, right? And then stand for something. You got to be able to stand for something. And if you don't know what you stand for, you need to stop right now and figure that out. So take some time, go off into the mountains. If you're not afraid to get lynched or whatever, then just hang out and think about that and say, what do I stand for? You don't have to stand what I stand for, but it's a good place to start. Look at it and make your decisions, but do it intelligently as an adult. And then just remember, live your life. And somebody just asked me, hey, what was the relationship with your dad? It was Tracy. I was talking to her. And I said, he just kind of lived his life and let me watch, and that's important to me. Like we've talked about this at length. I got little people watching. So, one of the things that I don't like are like the SEAL team or whoever, I don't care who it is. This is how to be a man and it's how to drink and smoke and just this ridiculous stuff that has nothing to do, by the way, with being a man. It's confusing because when people are malleable and they're immature, they think that's true because it was said, it was repeated, and the guy happened to be a SEAL team guy or whatever. I don't agree with that one bit. It did kind of disgust me when I see a bunch of my peer group sitting around a campfire just blowing out F-bombs, then kids get a hold of it. Because then, again, you're not helping the group. You're just making me look stupid. So I don't appreciate that either. So I think live your life, let your kids watch. And I've said it many times. I'll keep saying it. I'm very proud that my kids get to be in the room with you guys. This group, I'm proud to be a part of it, to have facilitated doing it, and they get to watch that. And if we do this, keep doing this, they may look at it and say that's a good option, and then follow in suit and be part of the solution. So yep. I think we're on the right track.
Day by day.
Day by day.
Win the small battles.
It's all about small victories, Pinkham.
Pretty soon we'll win the war.
Keep chase on Paw Patrol. All right. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. I appreciate you. Thank you guys for being here. Pete, thanks for keeping it real, making all this work, and getting us out on the interwebs. Give us a 5-star rating, please, right now, and write a review where you're tracking on the podcast. On Facebook, look us up on Able Shepherd and track what we've got going on. Watch the videos at protectorculture.com. Check out more about the Able Shepherd program, or come see us, Centennial Gun Club campus, but online it's ableshepherd.com, ABLESHEPHERD.com. Until next time, God bless you. God bless all of you. Take care of one another.